Welcome guys to a special Christmas episode here on the Manchester United Daily YouTube channel, and by popular request I want to do basically a mid-term report for United throughout this season. And for this video I'm going to split it up into four sections. The first section I'm going to be talking about all the new summer recruits that we had last summer, and we're going to talk about how they progressed and how they, I think, how much value for money have we got out of them so far, and how do I see the future for them at the club. And then the next section I'm going to be talking about is our progress in the Premier League, and next is the Champions League, and last of all what we can look forward to with United in in the next few weeks, but also in 2013 and looking up to the end of the season as well. So it's going to be quite a packed show. It might be a little longer than I usually do, and my videos are usually 15 minutes long, so you might expect this one might be, I don't know, I don't want to put a limit onto it, but because I'm just giving you heads up as to perhaps the duration of the show. But anyway, I'm gabbling on already, so let's get straight to it. So this is the first section. We're going to be talking about our newest summer recruits. So we kicked off with quite a good summer recruitment with the signing of Shinji Kagawa and Nick Powell. I reported the Shinji Kagawa deal for quite a while because he had, we had been interested in him for a very long time. Alex had, went to the German, equivalent of the FA Cup to had a personal scouting mission with Mike Phelan to see him against Bayern Munich, and he almost got man of the match that night, playing a number 10 role with Lewandowski up top, and he was really impressive. I watched the match actually live on ESPN, and I was thoroughly impressed with Kagawa, and I just thought of salivating at the kind of like prospect of him coming to United. And I think this deal was a winner really from the get-go, because we got him for around 12 to 15 million. The deal has been disclosed yet, and because he only had a year left, there was no going back, since we had already an agreement, and Kagawa had expressed his kind of like desire to come to the Premier League, because the Premier League is much more prominent in his homeland of Japan than the Bundesliga, so that was a massive draw for him as well. And Kagawa, he has been getting rave reviews for the last 18 months, and a lot of people had said that if he didn't get a metatarsal injury suffered in his first season, he would have made the Champions League, made a move from the Bundesliga to Manchester United a lot sooner. So it was a win-win, and especially a lot of people who said about the cynics how we signed Kagawa in order to raise our profile from the Far East. I think that is kind of a very kind of like hash and mistaken way to look at it, because I know Ji-sung Park, a lot of people had criticised the club for doing that, but he proved to be a great servant, and Kagawa, I don't think there was any kind of inclination from the club of doing that sort of deal where they just purely bought him for the marketing fee. Kagawa is a terrific footballer, and he has proven that in his first few games at United. Unfortunately, he had an injury setback against Galatasaray in the Champions League and hasn't been playing since. But he should be back in the next few weeks within this hectic period, helping the squad out and stuff. But like I said, Kagawa, a very good signing, 23 years old, at the right age. The fee was possibly halved because of the contract situation, so it was a win-win situation in my opinion. I'm sure a lot of you guys will share that viewpoint as well, that Kagawa has been a good signing, and I think the best or the better is still to come from him. So I'll be looking forward to see how he develops when he does come back from his injury. And the player I talked about as well is Nick Powell. He was signed from Crewe Alexandra for around £3 to £4 million. So not as high profile, but he has been getting a lot of good reviews and a good reputation from the lower leagues. Although Crewe only in League 2 is obviously going to be not the most attractive football player around, but Nick Powell, I think, has impressed me quite a bit, because I thought, here's this kid, 18 years old, signed for quite a lot of money in consideration for where he came from, etc. And he, I was surprised by his physique and his tenacity in play. I think you need a bit of tenacity if you're going to make it at a top level, and he certainly has shown that, Nick Powell. And he has a terrific shot on him. He was originally a number 10 at Crewe, but Sir Alex has already expressed his desire to make him into a central midfielder and see him, fulfilling, the Paul Scholes role of the box-to-box midfielder who can get us, 10, 15 goals a season. And I don't see there's any problem with that prospect of Nick Powell in the next 2-3 years when he not fully developed, obviously, but getting more experience at a very top level, and getting more experience is probably the most crucial thing at his stage. And he has been getting a few games in the first team, and has been a massive boost to him. And every time he's played, he doesn't look out of place at all. He scored his first goal against Wigan in his first appearance for the club, and then making his Champions League debut against Galatasaray away. And what a place that is to make your debut in the Champions League. He hugely impressed me that night, especially just the way he handled the atmosphere. And he was really unlucky not to get on the score sheet, having a header crashing against the bar. And like I said, he got a very good physique, 6'2" maybe, or was a bit shorter than that, definitely over 6 foot. So again, he is a very exciting prospect, and I can't wait to see how he develops in the near future. The third signing is Alex Buettner. I was actually away for the next two signings I'm going to talk about. I was in South Africa, and it caught me by surprise when I did hear the news of signing Buettner. He was definitely under the radar. As you can tell from my United transfer talks, there was no indication whatsoever from any news outlets or whatever that we were going to sign a new left back. Obviously, Leighton Baines was the main name that was going to be talked about, but no one had even mentioned Buettner. The only news I heard was that Southampton was about in the race for Alexander Buettner, but nowhere did I see United was in for him. But it was a huge shock, and it's not a name that a lot of people has any association with, because he's not playing for the big two in Holland, and certainly Vitesse Arnhem is not a well-known club. So like I said, a lot of people would have been understandable if they didn't know who he was. And I don't think he would have been the first choice if Sir Alex had his choice, to be honest with you. And that has shown this season, where Patrice Evra obviously is still the first choice, for now his defensive qualities are not first class. But Buettner is a good prospect, 23 years old. We got him considerably cheap, for around £3 to £4 million. So that's almost 5 times cheaper than Leighton Baines would he have signed him. But again, you could argue that Leighton Baines could have walked straight into the team, and we wouldn't have felt any difference about it. But Buettner, I think he has made a solid life to Old Trafford. He's obviously a very skillful and very quick fullback. He still has to develop his experience and game and offensive positioning at the highest level, because he has been called out a couple of times, most notably at the Chelsea game away at the Capital One Cup. And he gave away the penalty that night and had to go off as well, I think. So Buettner, he's shown glimpses of his undoubted potential at a marauding left back, but again, he has to work on his positioning. But consider the fee that we paid for him. I think it's a good prospect, and I can't wait to see again how he fits himself into the team. And I have no doubt that he will play a lot more time this season in perhaps a cup match or the occasional Premier League match. But Patrice Evra, even though he's still first choice, it's good to have a bit of competition there to provide and keep Patrice Evra on his toes. And the last signing I'm going to be talking about is Robin van Persie. Obviously, everyone's heard about this transfer saga £24 million for with a player who is 29, 1 year left. And I have to say, I was one of the cynics who said, why are we paying this sort of money for a 29-year-old who perhaps, this is going to be his last contract, and perhaps, and yeah, I have to admit that I was definitely wrong about that kind of like statement that I made. And Van Persie, what a quality signing he has been. 12 goals in the league, a couple more in Europe, and he has been sensational, I think, for us because of his just overall quality as a footballer. One of the things I didn't appreciate is obviously because he was playing for Arsenal, I didn't study his game close enough. But I have to say, like, every game I've seen him play, his link-up play, his, just everything he does is so efficient. As a player, I think that is kind of like almost a dream player to have in your dressing room, who is, a world-class talent. He has matured into one of the best strikers in the world, I have to say. His shot is outstanding, and his temperament, I think, has improved. It's overall, he's definitely a leader now within the dressing room already. It's just because he's already had that leadership role to take on at Arsenal, and he has applied that to United. Even though he obviously doesn't have the armband, you need strong characters within the dressing room, and his abilities, like I said, as a footballer, it's not in dispute. So Van Persie, I think he might be the difference between us winning the championship and losing it like last season on goal difference. And he has proved that he's up there with the very best within the Premier League and also in Europe. He's one behind Michu as at the time of speaking in the goal scoring charts, but again, it's a good goal scoring record that he has this season, continuing his form from his days at Arsenal. Select, he's had said that he deems him as the last piece of the puzzle, like Eric Cantona was, all those years ago. And like I said, it could spark another kind of like winning streak for us in domestically and also in European Cups. But let's hope so, because Van Persie, I think he came obviously to the club in order to win trophies, and I think he's done a lot to really repaying some of the transfer fee that has been laid out for him. And just a quick note as well on Angelo Henriquez, 18-year-old Chilean. We signed him for around £4 million. We had the first option to buy him a few years back. We have been tracking him for a very, very long time. He has already been training with the squad since he was about 15, I think, or 16. He came over here once already before, and Selex had decided to make the move because of the continuing interest from other European clubs like City, Real Madrid, etc. So Henriquez hasn't made a first team appearance, but I think he might be about to go on loan to Wigan. I think that will be a good move for him, where he'll get a lot of playing time. And I think from the games that I've seen him in the reserves, he looks very good, and his future looks bright, I have to say. And I can't wait to see how he progresses at Wigan if he does go on loan in January. And then we'll see how it develops in the future, and hopefully add into our already world-class attacking lineup. So now let's go over the Premier League stories so far in regard to United. So now let's go and talk over the Reds' progress in the Premier League so far. So at the time of speaking, we've played 18 games, lost 3, drawn 1 against Swansea, and won 14 of the games. So that's a pretty good record, I have to say. Even though we've got beaten 3 times already, and it's only halfway through the season, I don't think it's a great concern because of how how many games we've been winning instead of drawing. And that speaks a lot by the amount of points we are cleared of our nearest rival City. 4 points is the gap right now, ahead of the busy Christmas schedule. So it's a good sign that, and I think a lot of you guys, including myself, would have taken the 4 points gap without a heartbeat or a second's thought, because of how close it was last summer between us and City. And I think that has shown our progress during the summer with our recruit, that we have improved our squad, and City perhaps hasn't added so well that with their signings, it's not really offensive, where it's a world-class talent that would kind of like threaten to overrule the whole league. So I think that overall shows how good of our recruitment we had over the summer, with the signing of Van Persie and Kagawa featuring prominently in the Premier League as well. So in that regard, it's a really good start from the Reds, and hopefully and historically, the team who has gone into Christmas Day at the top has always gone on to win in the last 3 seasons. So hopefully that is a good omen for us, and we can carry that on to the end of May. The first game we had against Everton was really disappointing, I thought. They had Fellaini, who has been on fire obviously this season. We just couldn't handle him, and to be fair, he got a winner. David De Gea played extremely well that night, making several world-class and outstanding saves to keep them at bay, and he did well to even keep us at 0-0, to be fair. That was the first kind of like game where Van Persie was on the bench. Rooney started with Kagawa, who looked really bright in his Premier League debut. Rooney, on the other hand, looked a bit staggered and kind of like a bit subdued. So Sir Alex kind of told him about perhaps his conditioning and fitness, and I think this is when people started to doubt Wayne Rooney because of his lack of form throughout the summer with England as well. So it wasn't a massive concern for me at that stage, because we had Robin Van Persie, who, to be fair, didn't have a great pre-season either, didn't play at all for Arsenal, only played in Euros, so he was lack of match fitness. So going into the next few weeks, it would have been a juggling act with who to start, who to put on the bench. And the next game against Fulham, we bounced back, and Van Persie has got his first goal for us, also Kagawa. But it turned sour, I think, when Wayne Rooney kind of went off injured with a massive gash on his right leg, and that acted as a double-edged sword for him, because although he was out for a couple of weeks, it made him, and it allowed him to work that bit more on his fitness and conditioning. I'm sure Salek would have had a word with him, and that's the difference a lot of people said about perhaps him and Ronaldo, who is a person who likes to be in the media, wants to have the best of shape, but and wants to be the world's best. But Rooney, on the other hand, who a typical English footballer who doesn't perhaps thrive to have the perfect body, the six-packed, washboard abs and whatever else, but Rooney, it allowed him to focus on his fitness, and I think his presence wasn't felt because of the kind of like goal-scoring form of Van Persie, and that was highlighted against Southampton when he got his first hat-trick for the Reds. And to be fair to Southampton that day, we played terrible, and I don't know how we scraped it. It's because of Van Persie's quality, he showed it in that match, but fair play to Southampton for pushing us all the way. And that was fitting to match Sir Alex's 1000th game at United. So Van Persie already paying his transfer fee at that point, scoring 24, getting for his 24 million, we're getting a hat-trick within 4 games of the start of the season. So that was a good sign. I think that Van Persie was still very high from his last term's goal scoring record, and he definitely has continued as well. I think the highlight of the whole season has to be the games against Chelsea, who we won 3-2 away. Crazy game, 2 sending off for them in Torres and also Ivanovic, but that we played extremely well that day. The win away at Liverpool for a couple of years, with Van Persie getting the all-important penalty winning goal, and with Arsenal as well, winning 2-1, but it could have been any score, and it could have been as bad as last year where it was 8-2. Because of how dominant we were over that team, it's kind of almost sad and pathetic to see how much Arsenal has slipped off the pace in terms of of the title race, because they used to be one of our fiercest rivals, always up there with us, but that has shown kind of like the gap that we have opened up in terms with them right now. So that was definitely a highlight, but it wasn't in terms of footballing or thrilling matches, it wasn't up there. But again, it was just a good performance from the Reds, but it has to be overshadowed by everything. Everything else was the Manchester derby, where we won 3-2. Again, that infamous scoreline this season. It couldn't, I don't know what to say about that game, because it was just like a roller coaster. The history of Manchester United encapsulated within that performance. The dominant side of us, playing so well, can beat anyone on our day, getting 2-0 up, but then the defensive frailty that has been, our Achilles heel all season, showing up when we was pegged back to 2-2 at 85th minute, and you thought City would have went on to win, perhaps because of the momentum shift. But who else but Robin van Persie, the man who could have played for City, stood up and scored a deflected free kick past Joe Hart, and wild scenes followed. Rio Ferdinand unfortunately got hit by a coin, and it's ugly scenes, but there was nothing you could say about that kind of like thrilling feeling when you have that kind of last minute winner against your biggest rival, and that enable United to open a gap at the top. It was unprecedented for the momentum shift, and we were 6 points clear and going to this Christmas kind of like schedule with very, very healthy point indeed. But it kind of like, it wasn't the best gift on Sunday when United drew with Swansea, and that the gap reduced to 4 points, but it's still a healthy amount, because it still put City out of the kind of like reach of United, meaning that they have to play at least 2 games in order to match it up. So I think the most important thing right now for the Reds is to maintain this 4-point gap throughout this period, and then take game by game, because that's all they have to do to the end of the season. It's not going to be easy, and it sounds a lot easier than what it is, but just take a game by game, because it's in our hands, the ball's in our court. So all we have to do is just concentrate on our games, and I think if we do that and get the results we want, then obviously we get the championship. But it's easier said than done, and I'm sure there will be a lot more up and down during the season. But again, it's a really good start for the Reds in their pursuit of their 20th league title, and hopefully when we come in May, I'll have another video talking about our historic success within the league as well. So hopefully I'll come back to you with that video. But again, great start to the Reds in this Barclays Premier League season. And the third section I'm going to be talking about is our Champions League progress, and definitely an improvement to say the least on our last year's campaign, where we crashed out of the group stage, but this year we qualified with ease. And again, we were faced with quite an easy group, to have to say, and it's kind of like, it's a bit boring, the group stages, because it's expected that we made it through, and we did, with a couple games to spare, guaranteed league leaders. And again, like I said, we weren't against the best group in the world, with Cluj, Braga, and also Galatasaray. Galatasaray is probably the biggest name out of the 3, but again, they weren't going to be a match when we had our full squad team out. And with some of the games, we made it harder for ourselves, definitely against Cluj, and that, because we conceded soft goals. That was kind of a prominent feature of this season, where we gave away the early on and had to rely on our attacking prowess in order to get ourselves back into the game. And at Cluj away, we had to struggle, but Robin van Persie had to rescue us that night. Against Braga at home as well, that was a bit shocking, getting 2-0 down, and we had to go back 3-2 in the end as well. So definitely up and down in terms of performance wise, but getting qualified for the round 16 clash is always a good progress. And we redeemed ourselves from last season. It wasn't, last season was hugely disappointment campaign, both in Champions League and Europa League, but we bounced back and we showed ourselves to be a good quality team. Our defending didn't leave any good impressions to the other established European clubs, but again, we've got ourselves into the last 16, and with a bit of luck, like Chelsea found out last year, anything can happen. And it could be our year. You never know. And however, we got a very, very tough draw next round. I'm not gonna try to make it sound easy or anything, but it's Real Madrid, and that's all you have to say, because they are a top quality team. Like, some argue they're the second best team in the world right now after Barca, obviously. And with the team full of talent like theirs, I think it's obviously going to be a difficult task, but we have to look at ourselves and have to say we've got a great amount of talent within our squad, and on our day I think we could beat them if we carry out our plan well. And obviously the first leg is away at Madrid, so the most important thing is to keep it tight there, and don't get away and don't get blown away by their kind of like attacking prowess. And then hopefully if we come back perhaps with a scoreless draw, or perhaps even a scoring draw, would it be a bonus for us? Then after that we leave ourselves with a chance at Old Trafford, and that's probably the best way to go, and probably the dream scenario for Sir Alex as well. Obviously we are facing up against a man and a bloke called Ronaldo. I'm not sure if you guys remember him, but he's obviously a great player, second player I think to Messi right now again. But on his day he can tear up any team, as we all know from his record at United. So again, it's going to be a very difficult task, but I would look at it in a way that it's going to be a challenge, but it's also a great way to build momentum and send a massive message to the rest of the both Champions League and Premier League. Can you imagine if we beat Real Madrid already in this round 16th, what kind of like momentum we would gain out of that, both in domestic and international campaign. So in that regard, I think it's a really healthy match, and also it's obviously a very glamorous tie and a history between the clubs. But I think the gain for us is a lot more than there is to lose, because if we lose, then we have more to concentrate in the Premier League. But if we win, then obviously we gained a lot of momentum, and hopefully it will work in our favour when it comes to May. So I think it's a win-win tie for us, and I don't see any problem in that. And the whole remit of the Champions League is obviously to face a hard European side, and hopefully we'll come out on the top. But I'll be really looking forward to the games in February and March against Real Madrid and that bloke again called Cristiano Ronaldo. The last section I'm going to be talking about to you guys is what we have in store for the next kind of like 6 months or so, in regards to this season, and what's left to look forward to. So obviously in the Premier League we have another 20 games to go, and it's going to be a very exciting season, like I said earlier in the video, where it's going to be a lot of up and down still, even though we're 4 points clear. Hopefully the advantage still be intact when we come out of this Christmas period. I think that's going to be vital in coming into the second half of the season, where we are traditionally a lot stronger than we have been in the first half. So I think that could be pivotal if we do maintain that 4-point gap going to the new year. Then we have the momentum to build upon that. There's going to be obviously still a lot of challenges ahead. We still have to play Chelsea, Arsenal away, Man City at home, Liverpool home. So it's going to be a lot of challenges left for us within this season, and hopefully Robin van Persie can still keep him fit. Hopefully he'll get around 30 goals for us this season, and if we keep him and Wayne Rooney fit, I think we have a great chance. And if we do that, I think we have, like I said, a great chance of making that our 20 league title. And I don't think we should fit anyone in the Premier League, because we proved that we can beat City, even though we were on their own turf. We proved that we can beat them there on our day with the attacking Arsenal that we have. It's going to be going to be frightening for any defence to come up against them. And hopefully we'll bounce back from our draw with Swansea at the weekend, and go on to beat Newcastle on Boxing Day. And it'll be a nice late Christmas present for a lot of us. I'm sure if the Reds do get a win, hopefully we will, because Newcastle has been out of form lately, and it's at Old Trafford, so it's going to be a massive boost for us as well. So, you know, fingers crossed that the Reds will perform on Boxing Day to give us all a lift again. And, you know, in the months ahead, I'll be keeping you updated, obviously, on the progress that the Reds have made, and hopefully, like I said, it may, you know, you might never know. Hopefully, and fingers crossed, I will be making you know, historic kind of video talking about the whole league and ending it with you know, how the Reds won their 20th league title. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you know, for, I'm guessing, for any United fans, that it may will be lifting the trophy once again. And in the Champions League, obviously, like I said, a glamorous tie with Real Madrid facing us in the round 16. It's a win-win situation, like I said, where we have nothing to lose, and hopefully, if we get our tactics right at the Bernabeu, and we get a, you know, score draw or something like that, with something workable when we come back Old Trafford, get a place buzzing, and, you know, hopefully we'll get the momentum from that and carry it on to the domestic league and European Cup if we do get you know, a massive, enormous victory over Madrid. So it's going to be a great tie. You know, Ronaldo coming back to Old Trafford for the first time since his £80 million move to Madrid. Obviously going to be a massive draw. You know, he's still regarded as a legend around these parts of the world. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ronaldo performs. He already said he won't celebrate, so that's a great touch from the, you know, great man. So hopefully we'll see him, you know, in February, and hopefully he won't score against us. And, you know, but in it all, it'll be ending happy for us. Perhaps coming back to Old Trafford, we'll win the match with Ronaldo scoring for them. So that will be probably the dream scenario for any United fans, I guess. But, you know, I don't care if we scrape it 1-0 or, you know, we win it on a 5-4 aggregate. No matter what, if we win against Madrid, it's going to be a massive, you know, momentum shift in our season if we do. And hopefully, you know, by doing that, anything could happen. Like I said, yeah, like Chelsea, they prove that anything can happen if the luck is on your day, and, you know, if that comes to our day, you know, we could win, you know, our fourth European Champions League in our history, and that will be a great, you know, kind of like historic moment for the club. And I think to cap it off, that any trophy will be pivotal for this group of players, because, you know, Van Persie joined us for that exact reason, and we have a lot of young, hungry players that are desperate to win their first title. You know, David De Gea, Shinji Kagawa, Nick Powell, Alex Buettner, to name a few, Phil Jones as well. You know, to have and win our first league title with those kind of players, it's going to be a massive boost for the whole squad, and I think it'll make a massive difference the year after, because they all had the win experience and they want to win it again. So that is a massive incentive for the whole squad, I think. And, you know, Selex won't be letting him down about that kind of like task again, because of he highlighted how the winning is always a integral part of the club and the history as well. You know, we have a FA Cup draw again, and, you know, it's going to be a good challenge if we do get far in that competition. And it's obviously winning any cup is going to be a massive draw for any club, and I think United should apply themselves well in that competition, bringing a few young players into the squad, you know, giving them a bit of experience in the first team, and hopefully we'll go far in that competition as well, because winning is everything, I think, rather than, you know, finishing fourth or whatever. Winning is everything, and by winning you're going to create a better generation of players at your club. So there you guys have it for a special video here on the Man United Daily channel, and I hope you liked it, guys. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm not gonna, you know, force you, like I said again. You know, any part helps, and if you just, you know, like this video, don't like it, dislike it, I don't really mind, as long as if it pays and gives you some of the information you wanted to hear or whatever as well. So like I said, thanks for watching, guys, and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's to everyone who is supporting the channel. I appreciate it really, in a, you know, I can't really show you guys right now, but in a huge way. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. you know, keep safe out there. Don't do anything silly, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.